If I won the lottery, this is the watch I'd get. Who am I kidding? This is one of the watches that I'd get. And I'd tell my wife later. Don't worry, I'd get one for her too. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak reference 15550 ST in 37 millimeters. And this is my fantasy Grail watch. Let me explain what that means. My Tudor was my realistic Grail watch. I have a few realistic Grail watches that I know if I work hard, if I save up, if I'm patient enough, realistically they're obtainable. And then there are fantasy Grails that you know that that's never gonna happen, but you still think about them. And the thing is, I never thought about this watch because this is one of those things where you see it, if you're into watches, you know about the Royal Oak, you know about Gerald Genta. So it was like, okay, let's move on until I saw this 37 millimeters in the metal. And I love it. I love it too much. And that's not a good thing because this is a $24,000 watch. The Royal Oak, when released in 1972, set the foundation for an entirely new category of watches, and to this day, this particular style of watch is the flagship, the best-selling category for most watch brands, which also makes this one of the most important watch designs in the last 50 years. And the thing is, this is the first time that I've been able to appreciate the Royal Oak as a watch, not just as a beautiful, good-looking object. Like a lot of you, I've known the history of Royal Oak since I got into watches. If Casio had been dubbed as the starter watch, AP has always been in conversation as being one of the top heavy hitters. This reference came out in 2022 as part of their permanent collection and celebrating the Royal Oak's 50th anniversary. Both the 41 and the 37mm got new movements, with the in-house automatic caliber 4302 in the 41mm and the caliber 5900 in this smaller version. Whichever model you go for, the ultra-thin movements in both give these watches an incredibly slim height. This comes in a 37mm stainless steel case with a thickness of just 9mm and a lug-to-lug of 46.7mm, making it wear amazingly well on my 6.2-inch wrist. You get 50 meters of water resistance and a sapphire crystal on both sides, and a navy blue tapisserie dial that is breathtaking when taking a closer look. I've heard some say that the bracelet is sharp and uncomfortable, but to me, it actually feels quite refined. I spent a good half day with this watch, and to be honest, I wasn't hyping it up in my mind because I didn't want to be disappointed by the real thing. So when I did pick it up with no expectations, I was quite surprised at how not just beautiful this thing is, but also how well made and comfortable it is. There is still a lot of linear angular design going on, so it's not going to be as comfy as a Nautilus or the more rounded streamliners and those kind of watches, but it's definitely not sharp and unrefined. The edges are beveled to perfection, mirror polished to the point that gives them a softer touch. And even though the clasp is ultra thin, I'm genuinely surprised by how solid it feels. Like, it's not heavy, but it has a bit of an unexpected heft to it, which gives it a sense of security. The movement inside is the automatic caliber 5900. It has a frequency of 4 Hz and offers 60 hours of power reserve. Now, the finishing is good. It's exceptionally good. There's nothing we haven't seen before. There's perlage on the main plate, there's Geneva stripes and prominent beveling on the bridges. All of those things are there, but what makes this a hot horology is the perfection to which this finishing is done. And it's difficult to appreciate that over videos and images. You have to kind of see this in person, in the metal, in the flesh, to really understand what I mean. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but I'm just over the moon over being able to film this and get hands-on with it. There are some things I don't like about this watch, but if you compare this to the caliber 4302, this has a bit more industrial look. This is a Woshay base caliber. It's reliable, it's well made, it's hand finished beyond recognition, and it fits in this size, which is the only AP Royal Oak size that I would ever even consider. So I don't mind the fact that this isn't fully in-house. And even now when brands say that they're in-house, they're still not 100% in-house. They're still working with other suppliers, or they buy certain movement suppliers and then call it in-house. So you have group in-house. Teddy has done a great video talking about this, so check it out. Personally, for me, in-house only matters if it's significantly better in performance and aesthetics than its counterpart. And that's not the case here. Performance-wise, both calibers are quite close, so you won't feel the difference when wearing one or the other. The Royal Oak is so hyped that almost everybody that's into watches will have seen it. If not in person, then definitely online. It's all about the finish, the touch, the feel, in the brush textures, the way the bracelet cascades over your fingers. It is a masterclass in attention to detail. Now, what is it that I don't like about this watch? I don't like the price. I don't like that this is so expensive because it is so out of my reach. I know somebody will say in the comments, never say never, but it's just about principle. Like, I wouldn't spend this kind of money even if I could on a single watch. It's just not who I am. Doing what I'm doing, there are so many things that I could put my money towards. So I'm enjoying this watch in a different way. As a photographer, as a YouTuber, filming it, talking about it, making this video, that is kind of how I enjoy it. I recently talked about the Vacheron 222, and I love that watch, but to me it feels outdated to a certain degree. It's definitely not as modern as the overseas. This you could put next to the Streamliner. You could put it next to the Chapek Antarctique. It blends in with the new stuff. The brilliance of the design of this watch is what allows it to just be timeless in a way. And this size, I think this is not as talked about as the larger size, but I think this has a bright future ahead. I think the in-house caliber is certainly a place where they could evolve. When they do that, I'm sure that this will be all over the news, watch news. What do you guys think of this watch? Let me know in the comments, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.